Hello everybody. I was going to take a few minutes to go over something that can be a bit of a challenge in Hmong, being that Hmong is in this way really unique from most Western languages. Since Hmong is a tonal language, you can't change the tone to change the meaning. When you change the tone, it does change the meaning, but you can't change the tone to reflect emotion. You cannot do that. In fact, well, it's bothersome to me personally when people try to do that, but it changes the meaning drastically when you change the tone of something. So in Hmong, one way to reflect emotion is to add particles or words at the very end of the sentence. It seems, I'm sure again, it seems very strange from a Western language, but you can add, there are many words in Hmong that actually change the feeling. They don't add meaning per se, but they change the feeling when you add that word at the end. Or they have a mix. They add, the word has a meaning, but it also has a lot of emotion connected to it, and that's very different, I think, than in English, for example. Many of them are really difficult to define and wrap your head around because of that. There's no real definition for them. So you just have to hear them in context many times. For example, the word ma, no, lao, and the list just goes on. But today I was going to talk about 6 different words that, as you can see on the screen, that they're a little more definable, or at least they're a little more easy to wrap your head around, and I think it helps get an idea of the big picture. The first one you'll see up in the top left there is the word aw. It doesn't mean duck. Well, it does mean duck, but not in this case. Aw is a word that's used to soften a phrase. So for example, nyajong, just imagine that that's the word for hello, or like the greeting. Just imagine that you're picking up the phone. Nyajong, it can in some cases be like picking up the phone and saying hello. Whereas if you add that aw, nyajong aw, it's kind of like hello, or just any way you pick up the phone and oh hello. It's much more soft rather than abrupt. Now you can use this with the word aw on pretty much any statement or phrase that you use, but it's really not necessary all the time. Some languages like Thai, you'll use krap and ka for like everything. You want to be polite, they use it for everything, every sentence, sometimes mid-sentence. But it's not the same in Hmong. You just have to use it as you see fit, and you'll see how people use it too over time. So all softens the sentence. Now another one that's similar, number 2, is ma. Ma is used with requests. So let's say someone says, let's say someone is making food, and you want to say to somebody, oh, ko itai to kuno tia, like, oh, make a plate for me too. Now, without any phrases, anything attached to it, it can be construed as kind of like, hey, make a plate for me too. It just is very abrupt. But if you were making a request like this, you could say, ko o itai toku no tia ma. Ma will make it go from a real abrupt, like almost a command, to a very soft request. Oh, would you mind making a plate for me as well? Really, that's the purpose of it. A command can seem rather abrupt in Hmong, so when you add ma at the end of it, it softens that so it doesn't seem so harsh. Now, another word, number 3, nda. It really means exactly, but again, it has a lot of emotion connected to it. So imagine like you were trying to explain something to somebody and they just weren't getting it, and you kept explaining, and finally they said something that shows they got the point. You could say, oh, liko, like you just said, or you could say, oh, likonda, like yes, exactly that. Or say like the B one there, you were looking for somebody in an airport or something, you and somebody else, you couldn't find him, but suddenly, there they were. You pointed out to the other person, oh, unda, like that person there, exactly that person. So it adds emotion that way. Another one, number 4, if you look at, is used when someone gives you a number and you're surprised by how much it is. So say somebody got a raise, you know, when it's way more than either of you expected. You say, oh, boleh kau dia, boleh kau dia. It's like, oh, as much as that, really? So you use it just when it's, as far as I understand, just when it's in reference to a number that you're surprised about. It's kind of funny it's so specific. Now, number 5, if you look at that one, shu or ball, there's actually a handful of words I just picked out too in Hmong that they take a statement, you make a statement. It's not necessarily a question, but a statement of something, but you have doubt, like you're uncertain. Or it can even come to the point of being a question. There's ways to ask questions, which is a separate subject in Hmong. But in this case, it's kind of like you're making a statement, but you want to express you're kind of unsure about it. So like the first one there, Yo tie shu. I think it's right, isn't it? Yo tie means like that's right. But if you add shu, it's kind of like, isn't it? Again, it's not like it's saying isn't it, because there's a word for that law in Hmong, but really this is adding an emotion of right. You're adding an uncertain feeling. It's different, it's subtle, but it's different. And then the second part, the B part of 5 there, no ko to thiab, like you're coming today too, right? Again, it's not like we're adding, we can say the word ball means right, but it's like you're making a statement, you're coming today. But I guess you could say in English, it's kind of like, you're coming today. You have that feeling of right, even though it's not expressed. So you can use that one for quite a few things. And then finally, number 6, Yuad, is used in a dare. Wow, nice typo there. Used in a dare, or when you want somebody to accept something. So instead of uncertainty, it's kind of like you're like nudging them, so like you could say, Bemu, let's go. But if you say, Bemu Yuad, it's like, come on, let's go. Or if you were to say, dare somebody, like you wanna race for it, it has that feeling of So you see from these examples, or hopefully you see from these examples, none of these words have a definable meaning per se, but they express a feeling. And all of these particles used at the end really are kind of like that. They express a feeling rather than giving a definable meaning. You'll hear some people say that this is something that non-natives can't learn. I would say more it's something very difficult for non-natives to learn, because as it can't be defined, it has to be picked up by a great deal of context, whether reading or watching movies or talking with people. But certainly don't give up. It can be learned, and you can use them, and you'll probably make a fool of yourself by using them wrong a few times, but people will help you, and in the end it'll come out quite naturally. It'll actually be a feeling that comes from your own heart. So hopefully that's beneficial. I thought I'd share it, and thank you very much.